Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to part two of the Toroid Ranch. Um, Before I get into what was motivating me to make a second part of this, I wanted to flip back for a moment and show you how this idea started its life. Not so much to show off what I know about design, which is not much, but anyway, the idea is to maybe inspire or motivate you if you have an idea and you're not quite sure how to bring it into being. Uh, First of all, learning something, a simple program like SketchUp will help with this. But at any rate, let me show you where this idea started. Simple piece of graph paper. Because it's graph paper, I could draw at the scale. I could figure some things out early on. This shelter is 628 square feet, which will have a lot more usable space because the design is intended to be a kinetic structure. In other words, rooms can be used for more than one thing. But at any rate, that moved on. I basically just took this and I put it on paint, made a color graphic of it, which doesn't really have much better, but it shows the idea a little bit with a little bit more clarity. And then I figured out how to use SketchUp. I started using, and I'm not trying to pretend I'm a master using SketchUp. I still have a lot to learn. I'm probably doing a whole bunch of stuff wrong, but at any rate, still got this at a place where I can show it to people and try to help them comprehend what the design goal of this was. So, what was the design goal? I worked in the housing industry for 6 years of my life and very quickly figured out there was a whole bunch wrong with the housing industry. Uh, if you look at every dollar you spend on a house, let's say you go to a home builder and you want the home builder to build your home, 35 cents of every dollar that you spend on that house is what you paid that contractor to build the home. And that home builder is basically scheduling and organizing the subcontractors. It is a very slow, very antiquated, because it takes about 4 months to build a house for a typical builder. I'm sure there's some that do it faster, but some of them probably won't do it that quick. But it's a slow process. It requires bank financing, and this was back in 2000, 2006. And I remember talking to one of the people that issued loans for the house, and he said there was a whole bunch of people going belly up on the loans, and in a very, very short time after the house was built. So what I attempted with this was to offer, at least in part, some solution to that and offer it in a format that was disaster proof. There are 4 different bulkheads that make this. I covered this in my last video, but I would just briefly go back into it. And the arrangement of these bulkheads define what the area of the inside of this, how it works. And why a toroid? Well, toroids makes efficient use of space. But at any rate, let's imagine you build this, and you could build it yourself, because basically you could set this up to where it could be thrown together with a ratchet and socket set, and you could do all the plumbing could be prefabricated. Everything could be basically made so you'd be building it like a child putting together an erector set. You could build this with no skilled labor whatsoever. This, would end up costing less than half of what a normal ranch house would cost. And if you look at these shapes, do you take a moment and think about how many different methods could be used to make these shapes? These could be cast. These could be 3D printed shells filled with aircrete. They could be some type of sintered metal. They use your imagination. They could be 3D printed out of wood in a Voronoi pattern so that they're very light. You could make the structure however you wanted. But, there's 100 directions this could go in. But at any rate, let's imagine you build this in a floodplain and it floods. And you got this on a mast to where this can just rise up above the flood water and stay in place. You could make it where there could be a 20 feet of flood water. And you could basically sit in the house and ride it out. As long as you had some supplies in the house. Or you could just basically have a platform from which you could easily be rescued from. And then once the floodwaters receded, you could just go right back to living in your house. So, at any rate, there's going to have to come a point, if we're going to solve the problems that plague us, we're going to have to get past the idea of living in 15th, 16th century housing and using 19th century transportation. Anyway, I probably made the video longer than it needed to be, but I wanted to make a couple points. If you like the video, I'm going to ask this for the first time, consider liking and subscribing to my channel. And hope you enjoy the rest of your day.